Welcome, everyone. Today, we are diving deep into the heart of your WordPress site, the database. It's kind of like the engine in a car. It's doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. We're going to pop the hood, demystify this supposed black box, and show you exactly how to turn it into a high-performance machine.
But let's start with a really important question. Could your database be a ticking time bomb, secretly sabotaging your site? Because here's the thing, if you just leave it alone, it can get bloated, create all sorts of performance bottlenecks, and even open up some nasty security holes. So in this explainer, we're going to show you exactly how to diffuse all of those issues. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to build a rock-solid foundation. Then we'll get into the non-negotiables, maintenance and backups. After that, we go deep into performance tuning with indexing and writing faster queries. And to wrap it all up, we're going to give you a pro-level toolkit to keep that database in tip-top shape. All right, let's jump right into part 1, your database foundation. Honestly, getting this part right from the get-go is probably the single most important thing you can do for the health and speed of your site down the road. A really secure setup, it really just boils down to these 3 steps. It's a simple 1, 2, 3 punch. First, you create the database itself and a dedicated user for it. Second, you hook them up to WordPress. And third, you make sure that user has only the permissions it needs. It's a sequence that locks everything down. Now, the wp-config.php file, this is where the magic happens. It's basically the handshake between WordPress and your database. You'll see these define statements inside the file. All you have to do is swap out those placeholder values for DB name, DB user, and DB password with the exact credentials you just created. Get this wrong, and I promise you, you're going to see that dreaded error establishing a database connection message.
Okay, moving on to part 2, maintenance and backups. Our foundation is solid, so now it's time to talk about the routines that are going to keep your database lean, fast, and, most importantly, safe from disaster.
Think about it. Over time, your database just gets cluttered with digital junk. Post revisions are a huge one. They can fill up your WP_posts table like crazy. Then you've got spam comments, expired transients, which are like little temporary notes, and my personal favorite, orphan data from plugins you uninstalled ages ago. All this stuff is the bloat that drags your site's performance down.
But hey, here is a super simple, incredibly powerful fix for one of the biggest offenders, those post revisions. Just add this one little line to your wp-config.php file. You're basically telling WordPress, hey, only save the last 3 versions of any post or page. This one change dramatically prevents that database bloat from building up.
Of course, all this maintenance doesn't mean a thing if you don't have backups. You've really got 2 main paths here. Plugins, on one hand, are super easy. You can automate them, send backups to the cloud, it's great. But they can sometimes cause conflicts or have premium costs. On the other hand, doing it manually with a tool like phpMyAdmin gives you total control, no third-party stuff involved. But you have to know what you're doing, and there's a higher risk of making a mistake. Just pick the one that you're most comfortable with.
Okay, now we're going to get into some serious performance tuning. Part 3, indexing and optimization. We're going way beyond just cleaning things up. We are heading into the engine room to fundamentally change how fast your database can find information.
So, what on earth is a database index? The easiest way to think about it is like a special, super fast lookup table. See, without an index, the database has to scan every single row to find what it's looking for. And on a big site, that gets incredibly slow. But with an index, it can just jump directly to the right data almost instantly.
The index of a book is the absolute perfect analogy. If you didn't have one, you'd have to flip through every single page to find a topic. But with the index, you just go to the back, find the topic, and it tells you the exact page to turn to. A database index works in pretty much the exact same way.
And here's what that looks like in practice. Now, I know this SQL command might look a little intimidating, but stick with me, it's pretty simple. We're telling the database to alter table, specifically the WP post meta table, which is famous for slowing down sites. Then we add index, and we give it a name. The important part is at the end, where we tell it which columns to index, meta key and meta value, because those are the ones themes and plugins are constantly searching through.
The type of storage engine your tables use also makes a huge difference. Modern WordPress sites use InnoDB, and there's a very good reason for that. The key difference is something called row-level locking. When your site needs to write some data, InnoDB locks only the single row it's changing. The older engine, MyISAM, would lock the entire table. Imagine trying to check out a book, and the librarian has to close the entire library to do it. That's what MyISAM does, and it creates a massive bottleneck.
So that brings us to our next section, part 4, writing faster queries.
because even a perfectly tuned database can be brought to its knees by bad, inefficient code. This part is especially for all you developers out there.
Just take a look at this comparison. On the left, a pretty generic query. On the right, a much faster optimized one. What's the difference? Well, we got more specific. We told it the exact post type we're looking for. And we added no found rows set to true, which tells WordPress, hey, don't bother counting all the posts for pagination. I don't need it. Giving the database clear instructions means you get a way faster response.
And this table right here, this shows one of the biggest performance traps in WordPress development: pagination. If you use the offset parameter, you're forcing the database to fetch and then throw away all the rows leading up to the page you want. And look at those numbers. The execution time just skyrockets as you go deeper. But the paged parameter, it lets the database calculate the starting point directly, and the performance stays lightning fast and consistent no matter what.
All right, in our final section, we're going to cover Part 5, your Pro Toolkit. Let's get you armed with the right tools so you can monitor your database, automate cleanups, and just keep everything running at peak condition.
There's some fantastic plugins out there just for database health. WP Optimize is a great all-in-one. It does cleanup, caching, the whole shebang. WP Sweep is a much simpler, lightweight tool that's perfect for beginners. And then there's Advanced Database Cleaner. That's the one you want when you need to do a really deep, thorough cleanup, especially for getting rid of junk left behind by old plugins.
You know, you can't fix what you can't see. And that's why the Query Monitor plugin is an absolutely essential, totally free tool for any serious developer. It literally shows you every single database query that runs on a page. And, this is the best part, it tells you exactly which plugin, theme, or function is responsible for the slow ones. It's like a diagnostic tool that pinpoints the problem for you.
So, let's just recap this whole journey. It really comes down to these 5 principles. Start with a secure foundation. Put your cleaning and backups on autopilot. Use indexes to unlock serious speed. Write efficient code from the start. And finally, use Pro Tools to monitor and maintain everything. If you can master these 5 things, you've mastered your database.
So we've given you the complete playbook. Your site's engine is now tuned and running smoothly. The real question is, what's next on your optimization list? Because as we all know, the quest for a faster site, well, that never really ends.